Hi guys, welcome back to another video. I'm attempting to shoot this on my action camera. It's supposed to be HD. It's a cheapy Amazon. I wasn't going to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a GoPro, so we'll see what this does. Anyways, my brother is into the same kind of crap that I am, so he went and bought himself a trio of Yamaha Viragos. I think two of them are 84s and one's an 85. There's two 750s and one of them is an 1100. But all the carbs are junk, so we got to rebuild these. So this one here, the name on this bike is Ugly. He's identified the carburetors for me. With Sharpie, Ugly. I already did a set for him that the bike is probably going to be a parts bike, but and I didn't have parts, so I took them apart, cleaned them best I could. The needles and seats were bad; they were worn out, but I did what I could with them without any parts, and he put them on. It ran fine, and then it started to run rough, and I think the needles are leaking by, so it's just flooding the engine full of gas. But we got parts for the other two bikes that are going to be resold. K&L brand carb kit. I got these from Fort 9. Used to be Canada's motorcycle. So that's the kit. Actually, it's a very, very nice kit. Comes with a gasket, new needle and seat, and the seat has a little screen on it. I'll try and get a close-up of that later. The idle screws are new jets, new springs. Everything is new, even new screws to hold the bowl on. So, it's quite a complete kit. The glare on the lights is playing tricks with us. But anyways, we got two kits for the 700, 750, and we got two kits here for 1100. Looks like the only difference is going to be the jet size. I'm sure the 1100 uses bigger jets. Makes sense to me. So we're going to tear these things down. We're going to soak what I can in the ultrasonic. I'm not ripping the entire things down to the bare bones. We do have to take the caps off, take the diaphragms out, the springs, to get the needle out. So I get the emulsion tube out, because the emulsion tube comes out towards the top. We'll pull the bowls off, we'll get everything soaked what I can, and we'll get these things built so we can get these bikes running. He bought them to resell, so yeah, that's that. Let's carry on. We're going to do a little stripping of the carb parts and go from there. So let's get these fuel lines off. We're going to blow air through there to make sure there's no debris in there. I did dump most of the gas out, but there could still be some residual in there. Get a couple of paper towels on the bench here. Not that they're going to save much, but at least it's an attempt. Well, one thing I should point out is this action camera. I got my phone sitting here because the action camera is connected Wi-Fi to my phone. So I can actually see what's going on in there. I can control it from my phone. Also got this fancy wristband. Allows you to start and stop movies or take a picture. So that'd be interesting when you're on a dirt bike or something. You got the camera strapped to your helmet in the front, the chin guard. You have this on your wrist and just hit start or stop, and that's pretty interesting. I think I paid $65 for this thing. It's I think it's called a Cam Park. Sounds familiar to me, anyways. I think it's a Cam Park. We'll leave the tops on for right now because that gives us a relatively stable base. The carbs will sit like this. Let me get a little screwdriver. Get these bowls off of here. Oh yeah, lovely. Stuck already. You know. These are Phillips and flat, so there we go. Flat's actually working better. Oh, they've been on there a while. We'll get them cracked loose with this. I'm not sure how good that microphone is on this camera. You might hear some background noise. It is cold here, so I got the furnace on. These screws are going to be replaced, so we can actually just toss them to the side. Get them out of the way. Or save them. Little fine metric stuff. We'll save them and put them in our random parts bin. Never know when you need one. That one's, the Phillips on that is actually stripped. Been apart before, I'm sure. They are older bikes. They're not an overly complicated carburetor. They are it's a CV carburetor, so the needle slide and needle position is controlled by a vacuum diaphragm up on the top of the round part, basically where the carbs are sitting on right now. Have to be extremely careful with those because you don't want to tear them, stretch them, otherwise mangle them. Because I don't have new ones. Pull that bowl off. Let's have a look. Survey says a little dirty, not terrible. Got some dirt in there. Again, not terrible. We have new gaskets. These are hardened up. Let's get rid of these. No sense putting them in the ultrasonic cleaner. Those other carbs, of course, one of the gaskets broke on me, so spent like 45 minutes making one out of gasket material. It almost costs more money to make one than it does to buy one. Well, I'm happy with these carb kits. I like the fact that it comes with all new jets and everything. You just don't have to clean anything. Basically, you just take parts out and put parts in. I've never used this brand before. They work pretty good. There's no floats in the kit, but that's alright. The other carbs that I did previously for the other 750, everything was rotten, rusted in here. I had to use a wire brush and some penetrating oil to get rid of the rust. These aren't too bad. So what I'm going to do is, there is an adjustment here, one here, and one over here. So I'm going to identify the carbs. So this here is your idle adjustment. Yes, that's your idle adjustment. This one doesn't have that same adjustment. So what I'll do is I'm going to write down a piece of paper, just an identifier like idle knob. And that'll tell me what carburetor it was. So this one's got the idle knob. I'm going to count turns in to know where this one was originally sat, and I'll write it down. And then I'll count this one in, and then I'll write it down. That way when I put them back together, at least it gives me a ballpark on roughly somewhere where it should probably run. The guy my brother bought these bikes off of, well, this one anyways, he said it was running, so whether it was running perfectly or not, I don't know. We're going to try it anyways. So, I'll grab my little notebook there. What carb did we say this was? Is this ugly? Yeah, this is ugly. So, ugly. I'm gonna write down idle knob 1, and then no knob. Idle knob. Let's count these. See where we were. Half turn, 1 turn, 1.5, 3/4, 2. 2 turns exactly. 2. We're going to take that all the way out, and we're going to put we're going to replace it with a new one. Half, 1, half, 2, exactly 2. That sounds like a baseline to me. I think somebody has been trying to work on these. It's rare that both carbs would be exactly the same. The other carbs were very, very bad, and there was a tiny little spots where I could not, even the ultrasonic wouldn't clean them out. There were tiny, tiny little passages. So I ended up using some guitar string, which is perfect for this kind of work. Very, very fine. And they're not, it's not a welding tip cleaner, so they're not serrated. They're just a smooth wire. The serrations, you got to be extremely careful if you use a welding tip cleaner to clean out carburetor passages, because you can inadvertently make your jet sizes bigger. We'll have a look at that. This is a 700, so I'm not going to pull everything out of the kit to look, but it looks just like the one that's in the kit. We'll get another little container. There's a quick tip. Spray can lids make excellent parts holders for little stuff. If you want to sort things. There's the other one. So inside here should be a spring. One rusty spring. One corroded spring. And underneath those should be little tiny washers. I don't think my screwdriver is magnetic enough to pick them up. I don't like dumping things upside down, but nope, not seeing it. It could just be stuck in there. Oh, we're gonna find out. It's supposed to be in there. Maybe they're not. Maybe somebody misplaced them. Well, that's not good. It looks like just a seat in there to me. Not seeing any washers. Oh, there it is. Look at that. We got her. It was just stuck. There's the other one. I'm going to leave the rest of that alone. Float pin. Not in a kit, so we'll save that. I'll throw that in one of the carb bowls. There's our needle. Floats are good. There's a phenolic. You're not going to, usually, if you shake them, you're not going to hear fuel in them, even if they are bad. So these aren't too bad. I'll drop them in the ultrasonic and let them clean themselves. I'm going to try and get a close-up on this here. I'm not sure how well it's going to show up. Not very bright. Ain't gonna work. This is a rubber tip needle. There is a ring around the rubber tip. That where it sits in the seat. These needles, it's got a tiny little ring. It's not overly bad. It's a little shiny spot. It's not crazy bad though, so it's in far better shape than the first set of carbs that I did. So I think what I'll do is I might save the needles and seats out of these carbs, and I'll give them to him so he can put them in the carbs that are currently overflowing. Yeah. And what we're looking at here is the rubber is supposed to have nice, straight sides like that. Once they wear and they get old, what happens is they start to do this. I'm just exaggerating it a little bit, and instead of having the straight edge here, and the fuel tends to seep by that area because the seat would be over here, and a little hole in the middle, and that needle's supposed to go in there and plug that. But anyways, it ain't working. I'm gonna save those needles though, because I think they'll be able to use it. Excellent. Okay. Pad. I threw everything all over the bench here. Yeah, excellent. Okay, I'm going to take just a break here. I'm going to pour myself a coffee and make sure I get everything lined up. I'm going to turn the ultrasonic cleaner on and let it start to heat up, and we'll go from there. Hang on. Okay, so the coffee's made and poured, sitting there cooling a little bit. So, where were we? We were taking these adjustments out, and there was the needles and a spring, then a washer, and underneath that is a little tiny O-ring. I don't know if we're even going to be able to see it. See in the kit there, there's a little black O-ring. So in this kit is the spring and the washer and an O-ring. So what I had to do is I had to dig the old O-rings out of the bottom. So that was a fun adventure. And they were hard as a rock, so I'd squirt just a little drop of penetrating oil in there and soften them up a little. And then I fashioned one of my guitar strings into a hook, tiny little hook. And I just reached in there and picked out the O-ring. So we got them out. Yeah, they're all crumbly, garbage. So let's. The other thing I noticed while we were talking about the kit is there are two main jets in this kit. Two different ones. I'd show you. Actually, there's three. I would show you a close-up, but this camera's not good at close-ups. We have a 132, a 128, and a 124. So what I did was carefully cleaned off the main jet that's in the carburetor that we're working on, and I'm just going to match it up. Let's put all these parts back in there so I don't lose them. And it appears, that one says 134 on it, and this one says 128. So, I forget which numbers I had. 124, 132, and 128. So 128, and the other one is a 132. No, this one's a 134 in the carburetor. It comes with a 132 here. We're going to put the 132 in it. Don't ask me why they're different. I don't know. It could just be the way that the carburetor flows, that these are the best jets for this setup, but this is the way it's coming apart. This is the way I'm putting it back together. And that's that. And we'll end up with a spare jet, a 124 that we're not going to use. So let's put that to the side for now. Put it in the save file. Yeah, this needle here, I took it out and the needle was good too, so we'll save it and we'll use it again. Alright, back in your home. We're not ready to assemble anything yet. Still gonna clean it. We're still gonna get it more apart yet. Well, let's get the main jet out of here. Get a better screwdriver. It's very important to make sure you get the appropriately sized screwdriver for your jets. Otherwise you mangle them. Careful now. Oh, we're replacing them, so I could actually vice grip them out if I had to. Wasn't that tight. Nice. So under there, under those jets is a copper washer, which does not come in the kit, so we're going to save it. These jets actually thread into the emulsion tube, which is spinning. So I gotta stick my finger underneath here and hold it. And the jet will come out. There's the jet. We're gonna throw it in the ultrasonic cleaner anyways. Even though we're not gonna use it, we'll put the new ones in there. This copper washer, ultrasonic cleaner, and the emulsion tube is now wiggly. And there's dirt all around it, I can see it already, so it's a good thing we're gonna pull the tops off and take the needles out. This one's spinning. Washer and jet. Let's get those seats out of there. We're just going to discard the seats because we have new ones. We're not going to throw anything in the actual garbage yet because I want to make sure that all the parts in the kit are going to work. So you can see, this is our jet. The bottoms of these jets actually have a little screen on them. The screen, when it's not corroded to hell like this, the screen actually can come off. I thought that was pretty interesting. I'll clean that as well. There's a gasket, copper gasket. I'll clean that as well. The kit does come with a complete new seat, sealing washer, as well as the screen that goes on the bottom. The kit comes with new ones. Even though a screen, you may hold it up to the light and look through it and it may look fine, gasoline can leave a hard coating, almost like plastic. So it'll look fine, light will pass through it, but gas may not. So we don't need them, but I'll just toss them over there for now. Let's get the other one out. You can see some corrosion down inside this seat here. Not a lot, but as far as I know, this bike sat quite a bit before my brother bought it. Put that in the cleaning pile. Take that screen off of there. I don't want it. It's a plastic screen with a plastic base, so I don't want to put that in the ultrasonic. Just regular spray carb cleaner will do that. We'll fix them up if I ever need them. But I'll save the seats. We'll clean them. What's left under here? Nothing. Okay. What I'm going to do is the same as I did for the last set of carbs. I clamp this in my vise, the bracket, and then it held the carbs for me so I can get all the tops off. So I'll get that situated. You guys are actually in the way. You're on the tripod straddling the vise, so I need to reset here and get to the top of the carburetors. So hold tight. Alright, you guys were in the way, so I had to move. Now, there's all kinds of little clips and things here that hold the fuel line assembly together. So what I did was I just took a picture with my camera on my phone. That way I can make sure all the little pieces get back where they need to. Let's start ripping this thing apart though. I'm not cleaning any of this stuff. I'm not a detailer. Ugly. Set that there. I'm holding pressure down on this cap because there's a big spring under there that's trying to push that diaphragm up out of the way. Have to be careful. I don't want to rip anything. There's under spring pressure pushing it up. There's our spring. Set that to the side. Carefully remove the diaphragm. Don't want to rip it. There's a little tiny knob here, a locator, and it's cast into the edge of the body of the carburetor. That way this, because it does have to sit a certain way, you can see that there's ports here. So that's alright. Looks okay. If you put your diaphragms down like an umbrella position like this, it doesn't put funky stress on them while they're sitting out on your bench drying, because it's not nice and round now. It's a little lopsided, so if you push them down like this, it usually gives a nice round way for that needle to sit. While the gas dries off it. Okay, 2 more screws on this one. Gently now. Cap and spring. Needle position sometimes matters, sometimes it's adjustable, so I'm just going to make sure that the needle, because the needles in this diaphragm assembly sometimes are adjustable. I don't know specifically about this carb, but sometimes they're different taper, sometimes they're in a different position. So if the needle is raised, it'll run richer because it'll have a thinner piece of material in the main jet. So this runs into the main jet, and that controls your fuel flow. Just get that umbrella set back down where it needs to be. All looks good in here. Before we put them together, we're gonna check all around here, check for tears. I don't think there's any, but we'll put an eyeball on it and see a little bit of crap in there. Now, the emulsion tube is where the main jet was threaded into. Now I can push up from the bottom carefully. I'll wreck anything. Carefully push up. Sometimes these are quite stuck, but there's an emulsion tube. The main jet threads into this end. The needle goes into this end, and there's tiny, I don't know if you'll see them, tiny holes around that tube. They usually get plugged up. I can see through these, but it's still going in the ultrasonic cleaner. That's that one. See if I can get this one. I might need a. I'll grab my little 90-degree pick. The carb is very close to the vise here, so push up on it. There we are. There's our other emulsion tube. And there's one hole that I can't see through. The other ones are clear. Into the ultrasonic. I think that's all. Yeah, looks like that's all we're going to need to do to disassemble. I will end up wiping all this out. I'll spray some cleaner on a rag and I'll wipe through the carburetor throats just to make sure that there's no loose debris and garbage floating around in there. A little penetrating oil on all the moving parts. because there's a bunch of cams and cantilevers and stuff that make that synchronize the throttle on both carburetors. You can use whatever you like. You can use card cleaner to clean all this crap out of here. But this right here, that is my favorite penetrating oil. I've been working on stuff for a lot of years. This is the best that I've used for breaking stuff loose. It makes a decent cleaner. If you don't have an ultrasonic cleaner, if you don't have a can of carb cleaner, that stuff sprayed on a rag will clean carburetors out very nicely. Just so you can wipe things down. Well, that's moving nice and free now. The spring is, there's two big springs, one on each end that are actually the return springs. They are very stiff. Alright. At this point, I'm going to throw everything in the ultrasonic cleaner, let it do its thing, and we'll come back after all the parts are ready to put back in. Okay, that's over with. Jeez. Air duct cleaning. I had to explain to him that I have a boiler. I don't have a furnace, which means I don't have air ducts, which means don't call me again. Okay, so these are just a little bit off here, so we're just going to crack it loose. Crack the ones that we tightened before. We'll just crack them a little loose, that way this screw will line up better. And leave, you know what, I could check my camera on my phone, but I'm pretty sure that's where it was. This had a bracket, I can tell. And this one was a bracket. Okay, now that they're all in, we can actually tighten them all down. Snug them all, and then I'll use the straight screwdriver because half of these are stripped out previously, not by me. Okay, snug down, let's tighten them up. Then we can get the carb set out of the vise, back on the bench, upside down, and they will stand up for us. So we can put all those shiny new parts in out of our carb kit. That's all four. I'll get it out of the vise, back on the bench, turn you guys around. Hang on. Alright, back on the bench. We've got one of the kits open and on the bench. These are our plugs. So one kit does one carb. So we've got one kit out, ready to go. We're going to do one carb first, and we'll get everything put back together as we go. So these are the old jets, or sorry, the old needle seats that came out of the sonic cleaner. They're nice and clean. We're going to save them. We're going to save the gaskets that came with them, and we'll put them in a spare parts bin. They're still usable, and I think, like I said, they're going to go on that other bike, or the other set of carbs that I worked on first that aren't behaving. So let's drop our new seat in there. New seat comes with a new washer and a new screen. Let's get that set where it needs to go. Don't want that to fall out. Make sure it's nice and tight. That's good. Let's get our main jet in there. If we remember that this was a smaller jet, this was a larger jet, and I took there was three in the kit, and I took the one out that we're not going to use. So we're going to put the 132 in this side, The emulsion tube is falling down, so I just got to reach into the throat here with my finger and push the emulsion tube up like so. There are no new copper washers in the kit, so I'm just going to reuse the old one. It's a juggling act to hold everything together. I'm not left-handed. There we go, started. So now I can use the appropriate screwdriver. We'll get that tightened up. I do have to hold the emulsion tube from inside the carburetor with my left hand. Snug this down. Being careful not to strip it, not to put any burrs in the jet. Snug enough that it doesn't fall out, but not too tight that it wrecks stuff. Needle and seat's in. Main jet's in. That's good to go. These are clean jets. I'm going to put them in stock. Now we'll do the mixture adjustment. So we need to put our little washer down there, or a little O-ring down in there. Best way to do that, probably the same way as small engines. Actually, you know what? I'll see if I can. With a small engine, what you would do to put a seat in, a rubber seat, is you would put a drill bit down backwards, sharp end up, dull end in, and it just pushes down. But I'll grab a drill bit. We'll try that. Yeah, the idea is to use the flat end of this drill bit to push this O-ring down flat. We'll see if the O-ring agrees. Feels to be seated. Check it with a light. Oh, nice. Beautiful. Perfect. Now after that, on top of the O-ring was a little washer, then a spring, and then the actual needle. So what I'll do is I'll assemble this out here, put the spring on it, because I don't want, stuff's going to go upside down, we know it. And then I'll put the little tiny microscopic washer over everything. So that's the assembly, and the O-ring would be sitting here. So now what I'll do is I'll just turn the carb upside down and just get that in there. I know, you can't see. Can't see what I'm doing. That's fine. Now what I'll do is I'll just run that down with a screwdriver until it's just snug. That way I know the washer didn't fall off the end of the needle. And it was 2 turns out. I remember that. Didn't even actually need to write that note down. There are 2 turns. Both of them were 2 turns. So now it's compressing the spring. It goes in there quite a ways. Okay, it bottomed out. That was bottomed, so we'll just turn it out as 2 turns now. Half, 1, half, 2. That's good. Let's get our float and needle in there. The procedure to set these float levels is not as simple as most. Most of the time you just put this on there and you measure from the top of the float to the gasket surface of the bowl. No, not on these. These, they want you to hook up a hose and fill the fuel, and you got to run the hose out the top of the carburetor and see what the level is. It's got to be a certain level. Well, that's just too much work for me. I didn't change these floats. I didn't move or bend anything, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go by the general rule of thumb and make it roughly level. Nice. Looks good to me. That'll be that for that. Get our new gasket on there. So much easier just to put one on than it is to make one. Man, that thing was, last set was a pain in the butt. And I told you there was a tiny little hole that was plugged up, and it was down in the bowl. There's a tiny little hole that comes out here. That was really difficult to get clean on the other carbs. The hole is tiny. Actually, before I drop that on there, I usually pull the drain screws out. If the bowl is equipped, I'll pull the drain screw out. That way the sonic cleaner can get all the crud out of the bottom and flow it through and everything. The kit actually came with new ones, which is nice because usually people strip the hell out of those things. So it came with new drain screws. So we'll thread that in. Probably not tight enough. Get a small screwdriver. Well, bigger than that one, smaller than the other one. Just snug. Gasket surface. The bowl is flat. There's a rib on the carb. These I just leave them turned over like this, and I scrape them with a razor blade flat. I don't dig with a razor blade. I just put the blade flat like this and just move it back and forth, and it cleans everything up pretty nice. No more parts going in there? Oh. The bowl is sitting on there nice and flush. New screws, which is good because the old ones are stripped. I like this kit. Comes with everything. They should work just fine. Yep. Slide's moving free. I'll hook this fuel line up for him. Nope. Yep, that looks better. Oh, I did take compressed air and I blew through all these lines to make sure they were clear. Well, that can't be right. Doesn't stretch enough. Anyway, it's not critical. He can figure it out. Or I got another set of carbs that I can go to verify. I'll just stick them on the end first. Stick them on the fittings here and here. Well, maybe it was just supposed to be here. Yeah, that looks more like a picture. I think that one was bent. Actually, I think this one is upside down. I'll just bend it down so it's easier to get it hooked on when it's on the bike. There. That'll fit nice and purty. There are little clamps on there. Uno. Those. Done. Ugly. Just got a carb overhaul. Alright. So that video was shot with my action camera. when I do the next set of carbs, I'll probably use my regular camera. I want to check how this video turned out and see. And the reason why I went with this to try it today is the angle of the lens. It's a very wide angle lens. The other camera is very, very narrow, so it's hard to get decent shots and actually be able to see stuff without, you know, otherwise you'll have a window you can see only here. You won't be seeing anything else going on. So the drawback is it looks like you're 5 feet away from the carburetors, but in reality the camera is only about 18 inches from the carburetor. So every time I want to close up, I got to lift something up to the camera. But anyways, leave your comments. Let me know what you think about the video on this one. If you don't like it, I'll just go back to the other camera. I don't care. Thanks for joining me, guys. Until the next one, take care. Please don't forget to click like. Shoot me a comment down below. If you like to continue watching my videos, click on the subscribe button, and also click the bell icon to notify you when I upload new stuff. And we'll move on. I got all kinds of stuff to do. I'll just keep recording. Thanks again. Take care.